So who is Western Wealth Capital? Western Wealth Capital, first of all, I guess before I start, I need to give you a disclaimer. I'm going to be talking about some things that are forward-looking. There's obviously risks. You have to be qualified to invest. Things that would involve you talking to your dealing rep to get more information on. But our company, Western Wealth Capital, started by my partner Janet and I about 7 years ago. And we buy multifamily apartment buildings in the United States. We're in the value add space in the United States. And over the last 7 years, along with thousands of investors, many who are on this call today, we've acquired 76 properties across the United States. Mainly in Phoenix, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and Atlanta. And we've acquired about $1.8 billion. And from investors, just like everyone on this call, we've raised about $669 million US in equity. Part of the reason that we've had such great success is that as we've increased the value of these properties, we've been able to refinance them and pull out that equity and give the equity back to the investors. And we continue to hold a number of properties that have been fully returned all of the investors' equity, and they still continue to own those buildings today. We've also sold 33 of the 76 properties. And of those 33 properties that we've sold, our clients have earned an average annualized return of 30%. So this is really because we've got a very simple formula. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it today, and really how that formula and what's happened with that formula as we've gone through this pandemic. But really what we've targeted is we've targeted markets that have deficient housing systems. And what that means is people are leaving the larger cities and they're moving to places where it's more affordable. And if anything, the pandemic has clearly sped that up. The starting point of our entire business starts with the fact that the US needs 4.6 million new apartments needed by the year 2030. And as you can see on this curve, the number of new apartments needed and the number of new apartments being constructed, they're not going to meet up with that demand. And in fact, one of the things that's happened here over this quarter is that the construction has really, virtually no new construction has begun on new apartments. And so this problem of these cities where people are moving to and needing new apartments, this problem is only going to get bigger. And what that's going to do is it's going to put more pressure on existing apartments, and it's going to drive fewer new apartments being built. And when there's fewer new apartments being built and still people moving to these cities, you're going to see an increase in demand, and that's ultimately going to drive up the rental rates. So that's what we call the imbalance, and that's where we look for the imbalance, and it creates value for us. And our business model is a very simple thing. For every dollar that we can increase the rent in our formula mathematically, we increase the value of that building by $200. So if we get a $100 rent increase on a building, that increases the value of that building by $20,000. So we look and buy buildings, typically 1985 or 1980 buildings, where we can go in and we can make changes that can really impact the rent growth. This would be a very typical property that we would buy, 1985 vintage. Perfect property for us is when we go in and we see it's got the turquoise toilet or the pink toilet, it's got the old bathtub, it's got these white appliances, and we can go in and we spend about $6,500, and this is what we do to the apartment. We put in stainless steel appliances, we redo the countertops, and we completely change the look and feel of this building. And for us, every time we do that, we can increase the value of that unit by $125, which increases the value of that building by $25,000. So our formula that's driven the 30% annual returns to our investors is really about what the growth in the market that we're in and how fast we can execute this business plan. And I would say, I consider it to be lucky. I think there are businesses right now that have gone through the last 90, 120 days, and they're businesses that are just, very lucky. Amazon is a good example. With everything that's gone on, more and more people are shopping from home. So they're a business that's just that's just, they were on a trend that's happening, but now that trend is sped up. And they're on a hiring spree right now, hiring 175,000 people over the past few months. Many in markets that we're in, many we have buildings around actually where Amazon is, so we're seeing some of the benefit of that. The other one is platforms like this, Zoom. You know, we're not traveling as much. We're all staying home. We're having meetings, and companies like Zoom have just taken off. And Class B multifamily apartment buildings, which are affordable older buildings, people are looking and not wanting to spend the money right now and stay in a Class A building where it's maybe $2,000 a month. They don't really want to rent our classic units that rent for, you know, $900 a month, but they're very happy to rent a fully renovated suite for $1,100 or $1,200 a month. So I think one of the things we've clearly all learned through this is that our homes have become even more important. Where we live is now very, very important. And so, you know, from our perspective, we've been very fortunate. Our rent collections have been very, very strong. You can see comparing to the rest of the United States, we're 95, 96%. And a lot of it took a lot of focus. We completely changed our business model and went to driving online payments. We created an online portal for all of our residents to be able to go online. They can completely interact with our properties via the online portal. And 60% have made their payments online, which is 100% increase month over month. So we're expecting that we're going to be at 85 or 90% rent collection online within the next 2 or 3 months, which is phenomenal for our business, because if you think about it, in the apartment rental business, you spend a huge amount of your time and energy collecting rent. And if you're able to collect it all on the first day, simply because people are making their online payments, it just makes life so simple. And one of the coolest things is this month, we actually had our first tenant ever pay via text. So I know there'll be another speaker today talking about, you know, some of the online rent payments, but again, this is something that if you're in the property rental business, you know, you should be in the mode right now of getting your tenants to pay as much of their rent online as possible, because it just takes so much out of the management process. The other thing we were doing is we were one of the very first companies to put plexiglass dividers in all of our properties. So obviously we're in states, Texas and Phoenix, you know, and markets in Atlanta where there still are, you know, a significant number of cases. A lot of the other property managers simply went and closed their leasing offices. We thought that was bad business, but we also didn't want to put any of our residents at risk. So we've got plexiglass, so anyone that comes in the office, they don't come and walk right up to a desk of a leasing person. They deal through a plexiglass system. We also developed a full Clean Care Plus system, because we felt that one of the things we really wanted to distinguish our communities is we wanted to be one of the leaders. So if you're looking to rent an apartment, you understand all the things we do to make our properties prepared and disinfected and sanitized. And so we have a whole series of things that we do. And it's a huge part of our marketing now when we're attracting tenants, the fact that we have a Clean Care Plus system. So if you look at it, as I mentioned, you know, every time that we do a renovation and get $125, we call that a Gold Star renovation. And if you look at it on average, we're pre the pandemic, we were doing about 125 units a month. There really hasn't been much of a drop off. In fact, we're going back to probably by August or September, we'll be back to our 125 number. But you can see here 99 renovations in April, 86 in May, June dipped down a little bit and back up again in July. And again, we make about $50 rent increase every time we do a washer dryer installation. So $50 in our world is about $10,000. So you can see the portfolio increased in value in April by about $700,000 just simply by installing 70 washer dryers. The other phenomena that's been quite interesting is the average occupancy in our portfolio has gone up. Again, part of it, when people find communities that they want to live in, they're now staying there. So there's very little turnover in the buildings. You can see our monthly leases and renewal rates are going up month over month. So that means we've got more people moving in than moving out. And our average trade out is the combined total of what we're getting on just overall renewal rates plus increases from our Gold Star. So our $79 a month, 88 for every turnover. That means that every one of those 544 people that are turning over, the new tenant moving in or the new lease we're renewing at an average of $77 a month. So in our world, you can multiply that 544 renewals or leases by 77 times 200. That means those 544 transactions we did in June each increased the value of the building by about $15,000 per transaction. So when I say we're lucky, I really do feel that we are very fortunate in the business we're in. And again, you can see we get a daily activity report on all of our properties. So every property that we own, every single day at 5 o'clock, 10 of us in the company, our emails light up and we get a breakdown every single day of what the old lease went out at, what the new lease came in at. So as you can see, there's very, very significant bumps on some of the properties. And we've probably all heard this a million times, but if there's ever a time to really do a gut check and ask yourself, if you really believe this, today is probably that day, right? Be fearful when others are greedy and greedies when others are fearful. We are certainly not in a greedy time. We are in a time where people want their money put somewhere where it's safe. They want somewhere where they're going to get a good rate of return, but they would also like to think, geez, if I had to put my money into Amazon 4 months ago, wow, I would have hit it at a very good time. So we started in April. We didn't look at any deals in March, and in April, we analyzed 2 deals and obviously didn't make any offers. In May, we looked at 4 deals and didn't make any offers. And we decided to keep our acquisition team, and we kept our acquisition team even though we knew in all likelihood March, April, and May, we wouldn't be buying anything. But we felt we needed to analyze as many deals as we could so that we actually knew what a good deal looked like. I mean, if you literally are stepping in and buying the first deal that comes across your desk, you're not going to know what it looks like across everything else. So in June, the number of deals we analyzed was 10. I'm going to say by the time we're through July, it'll probably be another 20. There's clearly a number of deals coming along. And a big part of these 16 deals we looked at are just people that were overwhelmed managing their properties during this process. They didn't want to deal with the rent collection. And as many of you know, we buy a lot of buildings off individual people, 2 doctors that live in San Francisco that own a building in Phoenix, or 2 lawyers that live in Austin, Texas that own a building in Dallas. So, for them to manage those deals in these times would be extremely challenging. So that's really who we've targeted, is we've targeted individuals where the workload that's involved in managing and operating one of these deals has increased significantly. So we have a new opportunity in Phoenix that we have under due diligence. I'm going to give you just 4 or 5 high-level slides on it. And a big part of buying this is that we really had to be comfortable with the seller, because the whole process of buying a building right now is completely different than it's ever been. Even the process of, we've hired a third-party due diligence team to walk all the units, and they've got special gear that they wear. The lenders, obviously, they're not flying out to go do an inspection on the property. They're actually hiring someone who's going to walk the property, shoot a video, and they're going to make their approval on the loan via a video view of the building. So there's a whole bunch of things that have obviously taken longer. But the owners bought this property before us. It was a distressed property. They spent about $2.5 million on it. And it was quite interesting. They did everything but move the rents up. So the current in place rents on this property right now on a 1-bedroom are $714. If you look to the right, in our business model that we've modeled the rents at $750. Now, we own about 8 buildings that are very close to this building, so we know the rents. Our team believes that within 60 days, with just simply giving the front of the building a paint job and cleanup appearance, we'll get to about $850. So the rent has not benefited from any of that work. There's very few 3 bedrooms, and the building has had no on-site laundry for 2 years. So I've got 2 more slides and I'm going to wrap up because I see Taylor coming on, which is probably the sign that I'm about at the end of my time. But the biggest single thing that is also driving this decision is that look what's happened to the interest rates in the United States during this time, right? So what does that mean for us? If we look at the last properties that we bought in 2019 and 2012, we financed those buildings at 4.7, 4.4, 3.9, 4.7. And this deal, we're looking at getting a 10-year loan on the deal at 2.9%. So, one of the big advantages of getting in is, find a deal like this, has a lot of meat on the bone to be able to do the renovations, huge opportunity to move the rents. And then Amazon has also just bought 95 acres in the West Valley. So if you're interested, Taylor and Cynthia will have more information on this, and that uses up my time. So thank you very much.